Despite a couple losses in a row for the Raptors facing so many players in health and safety protocols, one bright light of these last couple of games has been DJ Wilson, who has very much impressed so far during his 10-day contract. So in today's video, we try to answer the question, should the Raptors make this a permanent player? Let's get into it. Welcome NBA and Raptors fans. This is Amateur Hour Sports, the channel where you get NBA content with a focus on the Toronto Raptors at least 4 times a week. So if it's your first time here with me today and you like what you see, you want more of myself talking about the NBA and the Raptors and videos and content just like this, then make sure you are subscribed to the channel. We're on a road to 8,000 subscribers and you can help us get there. But today's video, we want to talk about DJ Wilson off the back of a good performance against the Philadelphia 76ers, where the Raptors in general had a great game. I mean, with so many players missing, I thought this was going to be another blowout situation, but Siakam and Boucher especially really made sure that did not happen. And another player who kind of made sure that didn't happen was DJ Wilson. And more surprisingly, DJ Wilson had such an incredible impact on this game despite only featuring for the second half. He cleared health and safety protocols for the second half. He wasn't ready in time for the first half, but I mean, we really needed him. And we almost came away with the victory in this game as a result of him being on the court, because even in his limited role, even in his limited time, he was a plus 12 in this game. And lots of people in my chat during our Twitch live stream for the game, they were asking, like, we got to make this guy permanent. And I'm trying to say, like, it's very difficult. It's very difficult to judge a player based on such a limited sample size. You had that game against Cleveland where, I mean, after losing by 45 points, that's not really a great indication. And you've got half a game against the 76ers. So how can you base this player off of just a very small sample size? And the thing is, obviously he's looked good and you want to sign this player. And I think that, okay, I'd like to sign this player as well. He looks pretty good. He looks like he can help out this team. But you can't just sign somebody. That's not how it works. The roster is already made up of enough players here. You're allowed to have 15 players on your NBA roster as well as two-way contracts in the NBA. So that's 15 plus 2 for 17. Currently, the Raptors have 14 players plus the two-way contracts in Justin Champagnie and David Johnson. So if you signed him, yes, there is a roster spot available, but we cut Sam Dekker before the season started to stay out of the luxury tax. If we were to sign somebody like DJ Wilson to that empty roster spot, we would enter the luxury tax. And for a team that is 14 and 17 right now, doesn't really make sense to go into the luxury tax if you don't really need to. So if the Raptors were going to sign DJ Wilson, somebody on the current roster has to be waived. Somebody has to go, whether it be, okay, well, you can waive them, or you can also find a trade to do. Maybe trade a player for a second-round pick, but based on the finances going right now, it would be unlikely for that to work without taking on money back. So really the only way I see this working is if the Raptors right now, if they waive a player because they want to bring in DJ Wilson. So the question must become, who do you waive? Because after that very small sample size, I understand it's a small sample size, I think I'd be willing to try to make something work here. And I think the only person you can really look at, like you could waive off this team, is probably, unfortunately, Isaac Bonga. I mean, Bonga, I like him. I think there's upside there. That's somebody who is, 6'8", 6'9", who can really handle the ball, can be a playmaker despite that size, should be a versatile defender. But then I watched DJ Wilson these 2 games, and I really thought about it overnight. Because last night I was like, I don't really think losing Bonga, who's younger, maybe has some upside the Raptors want to work with. Don't really know if that's somebody you want to part with for DJ Wilson, who we don't really know a ton about yet. But then I'm thinking about those 2 games I watched, the game and a half that he featured in, and I'm like, DJ Wilson did more in each of those games than I've ever seen Bonga do for the Raptors. And I understand Bonga doesn't get a ton of minutes with the Raptors, but like when he does he earn any more minutes than he already gets? I mean, he barely plays because when he's on the floor, doesn't really do anything. But DJ Wilson checked into the game in the second half yesterday and almost immediately had an effect on our offense. And like people actually saying, 30 games into a season, basically, people are saying about the Raptors, DJ Wilson, wow, we would have won this game if we had him in the first half. Like, we're saying that about a player we just signed on a 10-day contract who's playing in the G League with the Oklahoma City Blue. Like, this is just ridiculous here. I made a video when we signed a bunch of these guys. I'm like, these are just 10-day contracts. It's very unlikely any of them will make an impact. But Wilson clearly making an impact here. So what does Wilson really bring to this team? The size is one really good thing. He stands at about 6'10", and he's athletic for the size. And because of his athleticism and his size, the Milwaukee Bucks were a team who took him 17th overall in the NBA entry draft. He hasn't quite lived up to the pick, but the reason they drafted him is because maybe they saw a little bit of shades of Giannis when they drafted him. I don't really understand what they quite saw in the player. Looking at his college tape, looking at his college stats, nothing really suggests that he should have gone that high, but because of his athleticism, his ability to guard multiple positions, maybe that's what they were trying to find, as well as a player who could kind of space the floor and hit threes. But regardless, since coming into the league, hasn't really had a ton of effect. In the G League this season, he's averaging about 14 points and 10 rebounds, double-double player. But what he does bring, versatility on defense. He's got the size. The Raptors do lack some size. He can get the rebounds, and it seems like he can get the stops in the interior. Can you imagine a 10-day player coming in on a hardship exemption and being tasked with guarding Joel Embiid after not even playing in the first half because he hadn't cleared protocols yet? That was pretty ridiculous. DJ Wilson was on Joel Embiid duty, and that was pretty shocking to me, and honestly did a pretty good job. I know Joel Embiid really got his in the game. We didn't really have anybody who could stop Joel Embiid, but to be tasked with that, clearly the Raptors coaching staff trust DJ Wilson to a degree. They trust him more than I think they have ever trusted Bonga. So DJ Wilson brings us that, the versatility, the rebounding, the block shots on defense. Offensively, I don't think he brings anything extraordinary, but we don't really need him to be that. Even he's a bench player and he just does his job. He gets the buckets that come to him. That's something that we could really use. And in the Cleveland game in particular, it was really like he was kind of unnoticeable in offense, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. That just means he was doing all the right things and nothing stuck out negatively like some other players did. He just knew his role. He did his job. When the shot opportunities came to him, he got the buckets that he needed to get, and that was the same thing that happened against the Sixers yesterday. Got some buckets, made sure that he got fouled, got to the line, was hitting his free throws. Like, it was an impressive performance. And it's nothing, again, it's nothing just outrageous on offense, but it's just seemingly consistent ability on offense. I know it's a very small sample size, but just every time he got the ball, it seemed like he was assured, and it seemed like he knew what he was doing. That is something that a lot of the Raptors' current bench does not have and does not give for this team. So based on the sample sizes, I mean, you still got a few more days until the 10-day contract is up. I think that if there still are injuries, then yeah, you got to give him another 10-day contract. If there isn't and you got to make a decision, I don't know. I don't know if the Raptors, if the front office, the coaching staff really see something deep within Isaac Bonga that they can unleash out of this player. So far, just hasn't really happened. He had a really, really good start to his season with the Raptors 9-5. Like, he was absolutely exceptional early on for the Raptors 9-5. That has kind of faded off in the G League, and regardless, anything that he was showing for the 905 that was spectacular, I mean, it was spectacular early on this season, never transitioned into the NBA. And it just seems like a player who doesn't have a ton of confidence. But the Raptors right now, they have the worst bench in the league, and you can add in a piece for basically nothing, and it can help you immediately. I think that is a situation worth taking, but there's nobody else on this current roster that I would really consider waiving in order to get DJ Wilson. Some people talk about, trade Malachi Flynn for a second, free up that roster spot, but like, our guard depth is one of the biggest problems. You only have Banton, you only have Malachi Flynn as your backup guards, and if you want to go to shooting guard, you have Simi Hyluk, so you can't really get rid of any of your guards. You have to go into the forward positions. Chris Boucher, you're not going to waive him, obviously. Yuta Watanabe player, obviously not going to waive. It's very difficult. It's very difficult to find the roster spots available. So I think really the only one I can possibly see is Bonga, or if you buy out Goran Dragic, but I continue to say I don't see it being necessary at all whatsoever, given our record, to pay Goran Dragic to play for another team. I don't think DJ Wilson is worth paying Goran Dragic to play for another team. So Bonga is the only player I see. And if you ask me right now, if I had to decide today, which I don't, and which the Raptors don't because there are a few days left on the 10-day contract, if you ask me right now, if I had to make a decision, would you cut Bonga in order to put DJ Wilson on this team? I believe that I would say yes, and I would do it. DJ Wilson's been impressive. He's been solid. And in those two very brief performances, he has done more in both of those than Bonga has done in any game I have seen him play for the Raptors. And I think a lot of fans would agree with me with that statement. DJ Wilson looks like he belongs to his team. The versatility and athletic defender that he is, and the ability to fit with the team on offense makes me think the Raptors should really sign this player up. And it's incredible. The Raptors found maybe another hidden gem here on a 10-day contract. We'll see what he can do in some future games for the Raptors. We got the game on New Year's Eve. I hope he features in that. So you really get a better understanding of what this player brings to the team. But for now, he's just a 10-day player. We'll see what the Raptors make of it. But I want to hear what you guys think in the comments down below. Should the Raptors sign DJ Wilson? And how should they make up this roster space? Should they go into the luxury tax? They shouldn't. So who should they cut from the team? Who should they waive from the team? Should they make a trade? I want to hear everything in the comments down below, everybody. But thanks so much for watching this video. Please give a like on the video if you did enjoy. And if you're watching late on in this video, you're still watching, I'm going to assume that you did enjoy the video. So make sure you give a like. It's completely free to do. And another thing that is completely free to do, you can subscribe to the channel and you get 4+ Raptors videos every single week from me. That is my guarantee to all my subscribers. Tons of Raptors content to keep you entertained, and I'll see you again next time for another video.